In previous videos, I talked about the systematic indoctrination of the Black community in America and gradually other people of color, as we say now, beginning in the 1970s, to have them relate to Palestinians as both being oppressed peoples and people who are subjugated to colonizers. And I explained in videos how the comparison is completely wrong. And I explained how this gradually extended to the LGBTQ community and the irony that the LGBTQ community, if they ventured into Palestine, what we call Gaza, and what is Gaza, would be literally thrown from rooftops if they did not conceal their orientation. And this just is lost on so many people in the LGBT communities who aren't even aware of it, and in some instances don't believe it when it's brought to their attention. What I haven't talked about is how Blacks are treated in Gaza. And rather than me explaining it, please watch this short video.
So there is a neighborhood in Gaza, on the Gaza Strip, where 11,000 Afro-Palestinians live. It is called Al-Abeed. You know what that means? Slave. Yes, that is where Black people live. And that is what the Arabics call that neighborhood. Slaves. The land of the slaves. I'm going to drop the articles so you can hear from Afro-Palestinians how they're treated in Palestine.
I saw a couple of overtly anti-Semitic Black commentators here in the United States twist and contort to justify supporting Palestinians in Gaza despite this revelation. And one of them tried to explain how in Jerusalem, in the Arab quarter, there is indeed specifically a Black Palestinian quarter, and how they are really not treated badly there. Totally avoids the point. The point is, in Gaza, this is going on, and it's terrible. And so one wonders, well, how is it that you could hate somebody so much that you would take a side that openly persecutes people of your own color and background? And that's just it, sheer hatred. And I was thinking how unique this is because, of course, during World War II, there were countries and governments who refused to do battle with Hitler at the time of World War II and IV. But that was a little different. That was not an alliance, so to speak. That was a policy of appeasement, and that's what it was called. And it was a failed policy of appeasement that a number of countries pursued, including initially Great Britain, until they realized they were being bombed by the Germans. And then Churchill came to power and everything changed. But the reality is, appeasement was a matter of perceived self-preservation, regardless of how misguided it may have been. In this instance that we're talking about with LGBTQ and Black support of people in Gaza and Islamists, it's not a matter of self-preservation. It's a matter of indignation that goes beyond social justice to just outright hatred of Jews. And that's really the only way it can be reconciled. In many instances, it's ignorance. You can see lots of videos, for example, of members of the LGBT community talking about they support Palestine and specifically rights of gay Palestinians in Gaza, believing that they exist there when in fact they don't. They are killed or they live in morbid fear. And so these people, it's just ignorant. But there are certainly other members of those communities who are aware of how the extreme Islamic movement in those places discriminates against them, just not just discriminates against them, but vilifies them and wishes them to death. And so how, knowing that, can you continue to support those people, those movements? And the reality is it's their hatred of Jews just takes a priority over all else. And it reminds me of the famous quote that I've mentioned in at least one other video. The first woman prime minister of Israel, Golda Meir, who once said, "There will not be peace until the Arabs love their children more than they hate ours." And so I think it's instructive here because the Black and LGBT communities are not going to see clearly until they overcome their out and out anti-Semitism and their hatred of Jews. And the first thing to do in order to accomplish that is for them to confront themselves and ask them, why is it they are anti-Semitic? Why do they hate the Jews? Is it indoctrination? Is it tropes? Or do they have some experiences? And are they extrapolating those experiences from one or two people onto an entire group of people, something that they hate? Or is there something more? But they have to answer these questions for themselves because it is just irrational for them to have this, what I would call, unholy alliance.